Hi, I'm Alex. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. It's February 4th, so we're a little late on this, but today we're filming my January reading wrap-up and my February TBR. So I had a pretty good reading month in January. I read 12 books, and I was tracking my actual pages. I use well, that's not helpful. I use Storygraph. I just like it better than Goodreads. I know it's been getting some traction lately, but I read 5,819 pages. I will say 400 of that is a book that's not going to be in this video, but I think that's a pretty decent amount. My average rating for the month was 3.88 stars. I did have 2 new 5-star books, which is really exciting because honestly they don't come that often. So I was happy to have them. I finished some series that I was in the middle of and made decent progress, I would say, on my physical TBR. I am focusing this year on reading books that I want to read. And there were a few books that I read that I think that I might not necessarily have chosen myself if I knew how they were going to go, but I am happy to have them done and not have to think about them again. So starting with the first book that I finished on January 1st was Assassin's Blade. It's the novellas for Throne of Glass series, and it's highly debated where you read it in order. I did not read it in any of the places that people recommend. I read it in between the Tandem and Kingdom of Ash, which I wish I had read it before the Tandem at the very, very least, but I still enjoyed it a lot, and I think that there were characters that I probably would not have cared as much about in Assassin's Blade if I had not already read the Tandem, so I rated that 4 stars. Definitely not my favorite in the series, but I did enjoy reading it. Then I listened to the audiobook of Thank You for Listening by Julia Whelan, and rated that 3.5 stars. I've even heard of it. It's about audiobook narrators that go to a convention, and I don't know, she's typically a fiction fantasy narrator and is doing a romance book, and I don't know, it's just a cute rom-com, I guess. I did enjoy it. I thought that the narrators in it were really good, and I would recommend it. It's not going to be anything that's absolutely mind-blowing for you, but I thought it was pretty good. Next, I read The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I actually listened to the audiobook of this one as well, but it has been sitting on my physical TBR for so long that I just wanted to get it done. I rated this 4 stars. I thought it was good. I felt pretty equal about it as I did to the Inheritance games, but the series is good. I prefer the Naturals for sure, but it was good to get that off my physical TBR because I've owned it for a year and a half. The next book I read was this behemoth, Kingdom of Ash. This is the last book in the Throne of Glass series. I read the entire thing, I think, in 2 days, which for a book this thick is pretty impressive. It was a 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved it, devoured it, and needed a fantasy break afterwards because my brain was just rattled. I will say I see a lot of people cry in reading that book, and I did not shed any tears, but I understand why it happens, and I think that I was being kicked by my fetus while I was reading it and just in pain, so I couldn't fully connect to some of the things that were going on, but I thought it was so good, and I'm so happy to be done with Throne of Glass, so there's that. The next book I read in January was Cruel Summer by Morgan Elizabeth. This is the second book in the 'Tis the Season for Revenge series. I had already read the first and the third and skipped Cruel Summer, so I went back and read that. In the beginning, I thought I was really gonna love it, and this is in my like series of vlogs, so if you want more like in-depth feelings on this book, it's in there. I ended up rating it 3 stars. My least favorite of her books that I've read so far, but it was okay. Next, I read Here's to Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. This is the second book to What If It's Us by them, which I enjoyed that one a lot more. This is just a quick like YA romance. I actually really did not enjoy this book. I rated it 3 stars, but definitely not my favorite. It's a book that I actually considered just unhauling when I was done because I don't really see the need to have it on my shelf, but because I had the first one and enjoyed the first one, I wanted to have that just in case. I tend to become a library for friends and family, so I just wanted to make sure that I kept it in case anybody read the first one and really enjoyed it. Next book I read was The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I rated this 4.5 stars, definitely my favorite in the series. I think once Avery made up her mind about the love triangle, I was much less annoyed with the book and the storyline and what was going on. So I really, really enjoyed this. I like the series. I preferred The Naturals, but this was very good. And it's always fun to hear about my alma mater while reading books. Next book I read was Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. I read the first like 30 pages of this in 2022, in like September of 2022, and put it down and did not pick it back up until January, and I'm so glad I did. I rated this 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I immediately went online and pre-ordered MP3 Into the Dark from the UK so I could have the original cover, and I don't know, I just loved it so much. I'm so mad that I put it off for so long. Next book I read was The Rosie Effect by Graham Simpson. I rated it 3 stars. I thought it was okay. It's interesting to hear a scientist talk about pregnancy, for sure, because it felt like a much different perspective than listening to my doctors, and yeah, I learned a lot that I don't think I would have known otherwise, so it was interesting, but not my favorite. The next book that I read was 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I listened to the audiobook of this. It's been on my list of books to read for such a long time, and I rated it 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I know it's a 5-star read for a lot of people, but I just struggled to see what the big differentiator was between this and The Fault in Our Stars or 5 Feet Apart, and I thought it was good, but I thought it had sort of been done before. So while I enjoyed it, while it made me cry, while it broke my heart, it wasn't a 5-star read for me. The next book, this is my biggest disappointment from the month of January, and it's If We Were Villains by ML Rio. This is another book I've owned for so long. This was in the initial picture I posted on my BookTok account. Bookstagram account, and it wasn't my favorite. I rated it 3 stars. It felt like a slightly better version of The Secret History, and I don't know, it just really wasn't for me. It's dark academia, it's mystery, it's interesting. If you like Shakespeare, maybe you would enjoy it, but it just wasn't my favorite. And then the last book I read in the month of January was I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. I went into this expecting it to be a cute romance book the way Red, White, and Royal Blue is, but it's actually a lot more of a mystery that has romance in it, which is interesting. Not what I was expecting from it at all, but I rated it 4 stars. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm happy that I read it. It wasn't something I was expecting to read, but I needed a new audiobook and it was available from my library, so that was that. Moving on to my February TBR. I will say this is an ambitious TBR. and not for the number of books, but for the amount of pages involved, and also like the content of the books. So starting out with Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This is the second book to Divine Rivals. I am excited for this book. I think it's something that I'm going to be able to get through very fast. I read Divine Rivals in like 2 sittings over the course of one night, so I don't think it's going to be something that takes me like super long, although not having the Kindle version of the book, it might take me a little longer. Physical books just always take me longer to read. Next book on my list is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I know she just announced Powerful the other day and its release date, which I think is at the beginning of the summer. So I definitely want to read this. I know it's available as an audiobook on Spotify, so I think that might be my like February audiobook. And then we have The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I listened to all of Lucy Foley's books as audiobooks. I think that they're very good books for that purpose. And this is my last one of her books left. So my hold on this is supposed to be available in the next 5 days. So hopefully we're going to be able to get through The Hunting Party. Next up is Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. Like I said, I really love Magnolia Parks. The new Magnolia Parks comes out February 13th, and it says it's going to take 10 days to ship, so I have until like the end of the month basically to read Daisy Hates. I know you don't in theory have to read it, but I need to for my brain. So Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. Next is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. I can't believe this book came out almost 3 months ago already and I still haven't touched it because I was so excited for it. But this is definitely on the list. I love Lauren Asher's writing, so I'm sure that I'm going to love this one as well. Next book on here is a little random, but this is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I know this is sort of what like Verity by Colleen Hoover is based off of, as well as some other like books. I think like The Wife Upstairs, that has been written by 3 different authors under the same title. Like it's inspired a lot of books. As you can see, I started it a while ago and couldn't really get into it, but I do have the audiobook taken out of the library right now, so I'm hoping that that either inspires me to pick up the physical book and keep reading once my like brain is in the story, or that I just listen to the audiobook this month. Next is Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory. My husband actually got me this for Valentine's Day last year in place of a card, and he like wrote in the cover. So I think this is something that I want to try to read as my like love story. I know it's not like I know it's like a series of short stories, but I think that's what I want to try to get for my like Valentine's Day book this year. Next, another hold that's going to be available soon from the library is the ebook, the Kindle version of Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I did not love Every Summer After, but my problem with it was that it did not feel original to me. It actually felt pretty plagiarized, so I'm hoping that I like this one more for the fact that it's an original story. But I know a lot of people do not like this book, so I'm trying to not get my hopes up. And then I also want to read House of Sky and Breath this month. I just finished House of Earth and Blood. I read it like the last few days of January into February, but finished it last night. Immediately picked this up. I'm already like 65 pages in, and hoping to get a big chunk of this done today. But I would really like to finish this book in the next few days. I know House of Earth and Blood took me 7 days to get through, so I just want this one to take less. And then the last book on my TBR I do not physically have because, quite frankly, I don't want the hardcover on it, but it's House of Flame and Shadow. I have the hold of the library. It says it'll be available in 2 weeks for the like Kindle version. So hopefully I'll be able to finish Crescent City series this month. I think this might end up being my favorite Sarah J Maas series, which I don't know that I really hear people say, so that's interesting. But that's gonna be it for this video. If you've read any of the books on my TBR, please convince me to read them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.